Giannis, this is kind of a disaster scenario, I think, for the Bucks because they drafted him, developed him, and he has brought this city, this team, this organization a championship. But they are in salary cap hell right now, and Damian Lillard just tore his Achilles. 3 straight playoff first round exits. Giannis, man, I think he's going to be on the move.
Yeah, I don't know that it's as much as a definitive as the statement before made it sound like, but I think that that within the next couple years, if there were even, let's say, like the next year, if they don't seriously seem to like making noise in the playoffs, that they could consider maybe optioning off Giannis for the option of maybe rebuilding their team. Because I don't think that this is, we're talking about this like on a call, that this is a retool situation just because of the fact that Damian Lillard is making so much money throughout the next couple years. And with that injury being as serious as it is, like if that's just like a sprain or even like a fracture or like anything else, it's like maybe recoverable, but a torn Achilles is like, it's like only a couple people have ever even come back from that. And then how effective will he be once he does? How long will the injury take for him? Like there's just so many question marks with that. And he's still making so much money. You can't, even if you were able to attract free agents to like a city like Milwaukee, who are you attracting there? Are they good enough to for that team to take its next step? And with the Cavs, and we'll see what happens with the Celtics in the offseason, but the Cavs being there for it feels like an extended period of time, like they're gonna have to run through so many obstacles, and just with the East in general being pretty good at where it is. I think this could be a situation where you might try to see how much you can get for Giannis in the offseason, either this or next offseason. It might not even be Giannis's choice to stay with Milwaukee, which would be so crazy. But what really is the ceiling of this team has got to be something that is in the ownership's like it got to be a question for ownership.
Yeah. So I certainly think that ownership is looking at this, but I think that this trade, or if Giannis would actually be on the move, would be facilitated through him requesting one. And I know
Mm.
that seems out of character, but I think it is completely fair and reasonable to think that this could turn into a full-fledged rebuild. And as you mentioned, yeah, we did talk about this before. This team with Damian Lillard owing or getting owed about $50 million over in each of the next 2 years, not having a true number two guy outside of that, and just in general, not having any other flexibility, even if you were to somehow move on from a couple pieces, is a really terrible place to be in right now. And the East looks strong. You got the Magic coming. The Pacers have beaten you now twice. And whatever you say, whatever you want about them, but they've done it. The Cavs look way better. And then you got the defending champion Boston Celtics, who could be two-time defending champion Boston Celtics before it's all said and done. So by the time you kind of get yourself together, these other teams have built way quicker to a much higher point. I think Giannis will look around and be like, I got to go. And I think that there's some very interesting teams, some possibilities. A lot of people throwing out some different stuff. I've heard Rockets, Warriors, Thunder. I think the Thunder package would be something very interesting, like what they could offer. They'll probably offer more than anybody else. I don't think that they'd really be all that interested, which I know sounds crazy, but I think they just love their assets so much. But if you could potentially tap into some of the stuff like in the future. Maybe you do that if you're the Bucks, but I like the Warriors. I think it's fun, but I don't think they can afford it. And then the Rockets have been just thrown around with everybody, including Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think the top two destinations at this point, if you're just going off the top of your head, would have to be the Rockets and the Thunders because of how many assets both of those teams do have. I think Ime Udoka commented on something hinting at the fact of like maybe shaking things up in the offseason. And even he said maybe keeping around the young core is good, but they have so many young players, and maybe not all of them are going to flourish in Houston. Maybe shipping some of them out would make sense, especially for a player like Giannis that could put them very close to, if not over the edge. So I think that that makes sense. Also, I mean, the Thunder just have still so many draft picks and so many young players that would
Yeah.
make sense to like their rebuild. They should be in the middle of their rebuild, and they're at the top of the Western Conference. So I mean, I that makes those picks a lot less appealing. But even so, I mean, if they're owned, like not all of them are owned by the Thunder, but still, like for like you mentioned with the Bucks side of this, I think it's just it's tough for them because it'd probably have to come from Giannis just because the fact that the fan base would be in an uproar if it came from ownership that they were just going to decide to ship him off instead of it coming from him directly. But something has to be done about that situation because about all those teams you mentioned, the East looking so much stronger than it has been in past years, and it can't just be Giannis dominating night in, night out. That's not going to win you a championship anymore. So, I mean, he's done it before, where he's had just great series after great series and led them to a championship. But at this point, with the Celtics, with the Knicks, with the Pacers who've just beaten them twice, it's going to need to look a little different in Milwaukee, and I don't think that they can do that with any trades that they're going to be. They don't have any assets to really trade, and I don't think that they're attracting any really major free agents.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the Knicks. I did also want to give some love to the Pistons because obviously those two teams just played in a series together. They're also very solidified, I think, for at least the next couple of years to be pretty competitive in the Eastern Conference. Some other trades that I just tried to pull up really quickly, some destinations that I have seen coming from the Athletic. All three of these, they do mention the Rockets. They mention Giannis to San Antonio, and that also requires the Pelicans and as like the third team in that three-team trade. They send Zion to the Bucks. Very interesting. I don't know exactly what the want is for the Pelicans or how much they want to end up trading Zion, but could be something there, especially if you get a lot of that Spurs capital that they have right now. Giannis to Philly. This includes like Paul George, Jared McCain, and a ton of first round picks going to the Bucks, and the Sixers just straight up getting Giannis. And Toronto, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, 27 first, 29 first, 31 first, 28 pick swap, 30 pick swap, and the Raptors get Giannis and Kyle Kuzma. That's one heck of a haul if you're the Bucks, and that's what it's going to take if you're going to talk to one of these teams and they really want to get Giannis. It's going to take that type of trade package.
Yeah, if I was Giannis, and I know in his contract he doesn't, but if I had a no trade clause, I would not waive it for the Toronto Raptors. Unfortunately, me and Kyle Kuzma are not dominating in Toronto, and I don't know. The situation there is probably just equally as bad as if you put him on like the Buck situation right now. So, I mean, some of those are definitely sound interesting. I like maybe I can you go over like which one you thought would be like the most interesting aside from like the Rock, because I there was a
I don't
couple
think
thrown
the
out
Philly
there.
one. I don't think the Philly one makes any sense at all. I think I like Jared McCain. I don't think it makes sense. It's too many picks. And I mean, not too many picks, but just doesn't make really a ton of sense for Philly right now. That's a full reset.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. I guess they get Giannis. It's a full reset for the Bucks, and I don't know if they want to go that far. I think they need one
Is
more good young player. I like the Spurs one for Giannis from his perspective. The Bucks getting Zion, I think, is interesting because they really just invest in a current really good player, an all-star level player. They get that 25 first from the Spurs, but that's via the Hawks. And then they get 27 first round pick swap and 29 first round pick from the Spurs. I think that's the best possible spot among these teams for Giannis is the Spurs. The Rockets one is a mess of a trade that would not happen because you got Sangoon going to the Blazers, who are the third team in that deal. And then you got Amen Thompson, Jalen Green, Ken Whitmore, Donovan Clingan. 25 first from Phoenix, 27 first from Phoenix, which who knows where that is going to be. 29 first, most favorable of Milwaukee, Portland, or Washington, all going to the Bucks. That might be even too much, but the Rockets get Giannis and then Jeremy Grant. That one didn't make much. That one's just too complicated for me to really understand. Philly's interesting. I think that's of all the teams that benefit the most would be Philly in that sort of scenario, like the opposing team. And then the Spurs, I think, for Giannis.
Yeah, in that Philly scenario, they keep Embiid now.
Yeah, they keep him beat, so they would be fine. I was looking at it
Yeah.
more so from the Giannis perspective, and I stumbled over that a little bit. But yeah, I think or from the Bucks perspective, yeah, Paul George, Jared McCain, and then the 25 first. Maybe the 25 first is pretty decent. So we'll have to see where some of these end up. I think the lottery is very this trade is very dependent on how this lottery shakes up.
Yeah, I think the point that we're just both trying to make here is that within the next 365 days, like into the next coming off season next year, it wouldn't shock either of us if Giannis was on the move. I mean, he's been rumored in the past, like locations like the Heat. I remember it was rumored for a while when he was first going into the offseason, just with the way that the Bucks have been struggling over the last couple of years, and it doesn't feel like there's really an imminent solution. It feels like the Bucks just might need to reset, which is super unfortunate because this is essentially like a homegrown. What was he like picked in like the late lottery, if not like the mid teens, and kind of just was able to flourish as a Buck. But I mean, at some point, like when it's not working, it's not working. You have to look around you like who you've got, and is this better than a second round team at this point? Probably not. Do you see even in an all healthy team? Do you see this team beating either of the Celtics or the Cavaliers? Probably not. So you got to start looking internally and seeing where you can shake things up as the Bucks organization. And for Giannis, he wants to win too. Like he doesn't want to keep on being asked these silly questions after getting bounced in the first round every single year.